platforms where you discuss ideas. Clubhouse is one of them. Okay. And which is great. I mean, you get all kinds of ideas. I remember there's a slides I put in before. Knowledge without action is useless, right? Action without knowledge is futile, or something like that. So you can acquire a lot of knowledge, and you're just sitting on it, right? Well, it's not much good, isn't it? So there are so many platforms which you can learn a lot of things. And the key for us now, we are at the stage. If I look around our group, right? And I don't mean to be offensive, none of us are actually spring chickens anymore. Is that correct? Fair enough, right? So it means we have enough knowledge. We have enough knowledge. And so now is the time we must get down to do it. Right? Apply all the knowledge. By all means, learn more, but apply on the knowledge. Yeah. And team, that's very rude. And something else is about I find that it's interesting that that's the power of the internet. Is this? I don't know. Somehow or other they get wind that we are doing all this writing thing, and every day I receive from my email how to be a writer and all kinds. They want you to subscribe to some sort of a course, right? How to write, blah blah blah. And every day I receive every day, right? And they're very persistent. And I think the time for learning is not so much over. We should be in the second phase. We learn, and the time now is do, right? No more just waiting to learn. I mean, we were sharpening our knives or our pen or what is the term by Stephen Covey? Is it what it's called? Sharpening the saw, I think, right? I mean, don't sharpen all the time. Then what do you do with it, you see? So we have sharpened enough. I mean, at our age, we must have sharpened enough of our pen and life. And I'm looking at everybody here, and now use that saw. Right? And I actually said the same thing to the Toastmasters as well. They're spending their whole lifetime doing speeches. I said, what do you do with it? Yeah, now that you can speak, what do you do with it? So most of them, yeah, so this is something which we have passed that phase. Right? So that is my little spiel for this today. And the action now is 8:05 exactly time. So my vision for all of us, one of us will win some international recognition and get yourself published by an established publishing house, right? And then you become famous and things like that. And then we can say, oh yeah, we were in the same group as this person, you know, and we feel great about it. And this is called vicarious joy, right? We enjoy your success. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I don't hear a very enthusiastic thing.
Yes.
So you said you're on.
Yes.
I have to mute. Yeah.
Can I comment? Can I
Yes.
comment?
Yes.
Yes,
Miranda.
I was just thinking about it today, you know, like, I mean, you know, when I was reading the stories, and then also thinking, where are we going with this? And I felt like if we have a deadline or have something that we have to do, you know, like a blog, I think we're forced to write, because otherwise, what are we writing this for? You know, like, I mean, that just came to my mind.
Yeah.
So I hope that maybe we can have some program that either we all do some kind of blog or some kind of writing that has a deadline that, you know, like going somewhere.
I'm okay. I mean, I have deadline every week. So, I mean,
yeah, you do,
now,
but not us.
Now, yeah, you should have. Now,
we have to have a publication
I'm going to trap you guys here. I just had a discussion with the publisher, with the not publisher, the editor. Paper here. So, and I'm sticking my head out, you know, because I'm already committed to write an essay article in the opinion column every week. Now I have to give him another one. He said, okay, can you sign on this little dot on this dotted line? I don't know. I mean, let me talk to the guys. So, guys, I am depending on you. My reputation is at stake here, you know, because if I sign with these guys, they say, look, this bloody Dunstan write all this thing, and then you cannot deliver, all right? Over promise, under deliver, all right? So you have already a platform ready. So there are 10 of us here at least. So the stress is not that great. If you can produce 1 or 2 stories a week, a month, or 2 months, we can rotate, all right? Those we should be quite safe. So I would feel more confident to sign on the dotted line than if I don't have this kind of commitment from you guys, all right? So my idea is that when we do our that's our modus operandi, we call it. Every meeting, apart from the education meeting, which I talk about it later on, is we have your work being evaluated by peers. So we submit it. Then it's up to you whether you take the suggestions, all right? So that maybe you can do this and that. So you go back and rewrite if you want to. Now I have to submit it to the editorial board to accept it or not for publishing, right? Now you're going out into the open world. Now you're sticking your neck out. It's no longer you're writing in your own room and think, oh yeah, I'm writing a story, maybe it's a lot of crap. But now whether it's crap or whatever it is, you know, it's going out into the world. And we may get a fair amount of bouquets. You say, oh, that's the great. Or you can get a fair amount of, what is it, Tanya? Bouquets and brickbats, all right? This is a very English expression, bouquet and brickbats. So you may get that somebody will write in, you know, the internet's like that because the newspaper is printed newspaper as well as online. So when it's online, all kinds of trolls and people will just want to say something to hurt you. Most of them will say good things, but some of them will say something. So you have to be prepared. That is the life of the author, right? And before I pass on to you guys, I just want to tell you one story. One story. It's a real story, my own experience when I was in London. And I have a very good friend who is an Irish priest, actually. He is a very good friend of mine. So one day he came to my office. He said, look, Dunstan, can you help me to clear my brother's room? I said, what do you mean by your brother's room? He said, my brother died, all right, 2 days ago. And he left piles of paper and things like that. And can we just go and clear his room? Now, this is another story which I'll tell you. You know, some of you, if you're familiar with the British history, there's a term called Navy, right? The Navies are the Irish who built the road in England. The West Indians are the one who built the underground, all right? So this is funny, you know. I mean, this is what it is, right? The West Indians were being brought in and they dig the underground. So the London Tube, you know, the tube, the metro in London, primarily in the beginning was all built by West Indians laborers. And the roads were built by the Irish. There's a reason for it. I wouldn't go for it now, but it's quite obvious reason. Anyway, the brother came as a Navy years ago. And many of them, the Irish has the gift of the gab, and they are very intelligent, and they are very, you know. So he has written, actually, many stories, right? Many stories in his lifetime. But he submitted some of them for publication, for publishing, and was rejected. And he couldn't take this kind of thing. He really, you know. So he, in his will, in his last message to his brother, the priest, who's my friend of mine, right? He said, I want all my manuscript to be destroyed, all right? Not, he just doesn't want it to be seen by anybody. So when in there, now here I was in a production company, and they say this treasure trove of writing. It's a whole box of notes all right, of stories he has written. I say, wow, this is raw manuscript. You know, we should publish it. So the father, the brother said, no, I can't, because that was his specific death wish, that it should be destroyed, right? And it was destroyed. I have to do it, and we have to burn it and all that kind of thing. And I'm just telling you not to scare you, that this is what writers have to go through, you know, their psyche, their emotion and all these things. They pour their soul into their writing. The best writing is your soul there, right? But you are exposing yourself to the world. And sometimes we cannot take it. We cannot run the risk of our ego being bruised or even whatever it is, you know. So I'm not scaring you guys, but this is it. So now you guys have already published, so to a certain extent, but when you only limit your distribution to a certain number, you don't get too many brickbacks and bouquet, mostly bouquets, because your friends say, oh, congratulations, is published a book, right? Now I'm committing you guys to produce at least one story every month or two, which is publishable.
Every month.
Yeah, because there are 10 of us, all right? So we can kind of rotate, right? So when we do this exercise now, which you're going to do now, we will do feedback, and then I hope you rewrite your story. And then to the newspaper, and they say, okay, this is a lot of crap in the bin. Oh, this is great to publish it, all right? So that is something we have to face. Is that okay? It's a challenge, right? It's great. Yeah, I like it. So we have 3 stories: Jenny, Zahra, and Miranda. So Miranda, you want to start? Tell us your story.
Okay.
And you guys can close your eyes or open yours, up to you. I will send you some video clips before, right? You can listen to similar. Sorry, similar thing. Yours,
Okay.
Miranda, give us a title.
Through a bird's eye. Through the thin slated bamboo wall, the hot oil can be heard crackling loudly as slightly moist chili was dropped in the wok, followed by an even louder crackling when the dried salted fish was added on. The strong, savory, fishy smell pervaded the whole compound. An old lady came out of the kitchen and put some seed in the birdhouse. It's mealtime, she said. The bird acknowledged it graciously, glad to be home once again. Just a short while ago, the bird was perched atop a leafless branch of a tree higher than any other tree on the hills. In total stillness, he gazed at the familiar sight before him. His solitary stance was cocooned in a comforting silence, broken in intervals only by the slight whirring sound coming from the gentle breezes caught between the treetops far below. His clear, sharp eyes took in the magnificent sights before him. A palette of blue, green, brown, and golden hues slightly subdued by the hazy foam of the late morning air. Here and there, thick clumps of trees, the vast spread of wet field paddies in varying stages of growth. Indigo semi-circular mountain range rounded the plains, the conical peaks shooting majestically into the clear blue sky. The slight turning of his head was the singular movement, the object of his observation appearing still from the distance as he searched for a sight to behold. A sliver of bright magenta and violet, barely visible in the emerald overtone, caught his eyes. A wave of tenderness and warmth flooded his whole being. How fiercely had he guarded this sight in his mind during the long and cold wintry nights often through starless, moonless sky, as he flew with other birds, traversing vast oceans. As his attention became focused, his imagination started to become alive. The magenta and violet in the distance transformed into a profusion of water lilies in full bloom, growing closely together. Their giant saucer-like waxy leaves vying for space in the tiny earth pond. A concerto of deep-throaty croaks by his frog friends echoed while they playfully jostled each other. As if to stress the gigantic dimension of the leaves, only the biggest and loudest frogs lived in this pond, their puffed out bellies creamy white, a stark contrast to their grayish-brown knobby backs. He smiled. He too used to join them in the water, and only to feel deep resentment and frustration when no sound would come out of his. Now his memory came back with the speed of an avalanche as familiar vivid images and emotions tumbling one after the other in rapid successions. Bordering the earth-rimmed pond was a soot-covered bamboo hut, its color darker than the wet soil. Inside the kitchen hut, a few terracotta pots stood atop a low blackened brick stove. Mounds of week-old ash under the earthen pots formed neat, smooth slopes. A bowl of yesterday's rice was waiting to be reheated. It was not yet cooking time. Behind the house, a quilted blanket of red, blue, and printed white patches hung to air. It was a large quilt, the squares meticulously stitched and color coordinated to the old lady's pride. It once won the first prize in the annual village festival. Everyone agreed that ever since, no one had created a quilt quite as fine nor as beautiful. The stretched quilt swayed gently in rhythm with the to and fro movement of the whipping willow branches at the edge of the pond. Behind the blanket stood another hut, the sleeping quarter, next to the doorway, seeking shelter from the heat of the rapidly rising sun. On a large, smooth, flat stone sat an elderly lady. At her feet, a shallow vat almost filled to the brim with shallots. Some were for today's meal, their transparent skin needing peeling off before they can be finely chopped. No matter that she had done this for most of her life, the hot, sharp fume arising from the gray shallots still made her eyes water. Today, however, it was mixed with her own tears. She was feeling particularly lonely and melancholic. Since her husband's death a year ago, she had been largely without a constant companion. Occasionally, some village boys would drop by on their way to the fishing pond in the small forest in the hills behind her house. She made sure she kept a stock of sweet sesame sprinkled rice balls to give them on such occasion. They would exchange small pleasantries. The boys would update her with the latest happenings in the village. On their return, they would bring her some fish. However, these occasions were rare and becoming even rarer still. As the boys got older and dreams of pretty girls replaced the excitement of fishing in the forest pond. It's been over a month since their last visit. She remembered. It was 2 days before the moon reached its zenith. Last night, the moon appeared quite round and full, although with her failing eyesight, she could be a couple of days off. She thought of her late husband. He was a very good man, kind, strong, and hardworking. A man of few words, but whenever he spoke, everyone listened. He showed his love for her in subtle and thoughtful gestures. He often brought her favorite delicacies from the market. Sometimes he brought unusual colored wild orchids from the forest and put them in a jar by her side of the bed. When her feet started to swell in the beginning of the dry winter, he would cut lavender flowers from the river banks and made warm lavender food bath for her. Her radiant smile and widening bright eyes was his reward and fulfillment. She missed him very much. They were together for over half a century. Though she was sorry that she couldn't conceive more children after their only son was taken down by cholera many moons ago, she felt very lucky to have had a loving husband and loyal companion for all the ensuing years. A loud squawking noise coming from a group of crows woke her up from her reverie to find the vat almost full of peeled shallots. She looked up and her eyes fell on the hanging quilt, still brightly colored after all these years. She was them with the claret fruit, a dark brown, shiny, inedible fruit used by generations to preserve colors in cloths to withstand numerous washings. She made the quilt as a new bride. She had worked on it lovingly, wanting to show her husband that she was well prepared to be a good housewife. It took her a year to complete it. Fresh tears flowed down her cheek as she thought of how proud her husband was when she won the prize for the best quilt. I'm getting old, really old now. Only the old turns to nostalgia for comfort, she whispered to herself. She gathered the vat and strode to the kitchen as briskly as her arthritic feet could take her. She went into the kitchen. She took out a handful of shallots and put them in the kitchen table next to the chopping board. Today, she was going to make her husband's favorite fare. She wanted to thank his spirit for choosing her as his companion for this life. She stepped out of the kitchen to a small plot where she grew vegetables. She took out a few lemongrass sticks, some chili, and several strands of green beans and went back to the kitchen. She pulled down one dried salted fish, which she made out of the fish the boys brought her 1 moon ago. She cut 1/3 of the fish and put it on the table next to the shallots and the chili along with the lemongrass and the greens. With practiced hands, one hand on the knife, the other feeding the ingredients to be cut, she sliced the shallots, chili, and lemongrass thinly. Again, her eyes watered, but this time she smiled and chided herself. You silly old woman, enough with the crying. She poured oil into the thick steel frying pan and fanned the ember into flame once again. In the small earthen pot in the next stove, she poured some water to boil. Once the smoke started to rise from the heated oil, she put the chili in first, followed by the fish. The hot oil crackled loudly every time with each added ingredient. The bird saw all this vividly in his imagination, for he knew her routine so well. He had watched her many times for as long as he could remember. The old man had brought him home after he was discovered alone in his nest on the ground with his mother lying dead next to him. The old man's wife had taken him into her care. She poured into him all the love she had reserved for her son, urging him to take food into his mouth patiently and persistently until he grew strong enough to stand on his feet. It was a while before he even realized he was the bird. It was a bird. The pond frogs being his constant companions from the time he could move around. The old lady used to feed him small critters from the water, then left him by the pond as she went about her daily chores. He had watched the frogs frolicking for some time before he dared to come closer and stepped into the water, only to find he could float and avoid from going under by spreading his wings. He was filled with nostalgia, and before he realized it, his wings were spread, he began his descent. He saw in the big pond on top of the hills where the boys went to fish. He swooped down to catch a large fish, the same kind of fish the boys used to bring back to the old lady. In an elegant arch, he rose mid-air to continue his flight until once again he swooped down and descended smoothly and noiselessly at the doorstep of the kitchen. He stood still, silently watching the old lady scooping out the chili-coated fish, loading it to the dish on the table. As she turned around to drain the water from the boiled vegetables, she spotted first his long shadow on the parched floor. She lifted her eyes and took in the sight of him. His familiar sharp eyes, clear eyes fastened on her, softened with love and tenderness. A large fish stuck between his beak. A large smile broke her wrinkled face. Her eyes brightened with joy and welcome. "You're back," she said simply. That's it. Thank you for letting me read that.
Very, very good. We can give feedback later on. Okay,
Okay.
The groups, right? I also have taken some notes. Very impressive. Yeah. Okay, good. And who's next? Zara. Okay.
All right.
What's the title? Zara?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
It feels like yesterday, filled with anguish. I was sitting alone there were rows of empty chairs. Is this the final call for flight number TU8099? Flight is ready to leave. It was April 2020. I left my wonderful sweet home, a great job, and a second home country, where reminded me of juicy moments of sheer joy for more than a decade. I studied, found new friends, got married, lived, worked. Goodbye, Malaysia. I didn't believe to leave you so unexpectedly with empty hands. Was I ever thankful for what I had? Barely enough. I was soaked with my memories and did not squeeze much appreciation for those lovely carefree days. I know. While sinking into the seats, my whole life flashed before my eyes. My husband, I couldn't even join him in Singapore due to pandemic, lockdown protocols, MCO, and a trailer of new words becoming so common in a month. It was similar to a resurrection day. It says in the religious script, even a mother doesn't know her child. I was taught happiness is wealthy lifestyle with wonderful goods and cheerful momentum. And at that moment, I was a lonely woman without any of those cliche pictures of happiness that I have been bombarded through social media, commercials, and films for years. We used to believe that a happy person should be rich, attractive, prosperous, with a lovely, adorable family who have a life of dreams. After a few hours, the loudspeaker announcement were merely a noise. I had to hear them for 18 hours at the airport. All of a sudden, from nowhere, my grandmother's memory jumped into my mind. Most of the time, she told me moral stories, and I remember this one, which was the right remedy to my broken heart. Once upon a time, there was a small village far away from urban areas. It was surrounded by high mountains deep in the valley, which was covered with bushy jungles. There were tall oak trees, varieties of wildlife from fauna to flora. The fragrance of wild flowers dazzled villagers. The magnificent waterfall excessively dazzled everyone by its beauty. It was a real heaven on the earth scenery. In such an astonishing environment, people still were not pleased and blissful. They annoyed and thought that they were the most unfortunate people as they were born on this spot on the earth. While complaining, they cursed the short old men who lived under a rocky part of the mountain. They believed that he was nasty and mean from the time he stepped in their village. He was bad-tempered and ill-mannered. He always complained, groaned, and growled as if he had not been satisfied with his life. It seems his negative words, thoughts, and actions were poisonous. Even those who lived nearby were influenced by his pessimism. The older he became, the more bitterly he behaved. One day there was a rumor in the village. Nobody believed his ears, and everyone darted to his old man's cottage. Their eyes were wide open as they saw the old and kind children. At last, one of the villagers collected his courage and dared to ask a question. What happened that made you so happy today? Nothing in particular. Nothing truly happened, said the old man. Today is my birthday. I'm 80 years old now. For 80 years, I've been seeking for happiness. I pursued it in various ways. I looked for it outside through objects and positions, but I became cheerless day by day. Today I thought I might die sooner or later. Therefore, I quit chasing happiness and give up to live up my life. I think it's better have a normal life without that happiness. I may pursue happiness in me, not outside of me. Dun, dun. Pursue happiness inside me, not outside. The words penetrated into my brain, soul, and emotion. That's it. I need to think outside the box. I whispered myself when walking toward the gate to board my home country flight. It took me 2 weeks contemplation to think of how unwise of the normal life in my own home. The best way was to step out of my comfort zone, accept things that I had no power over them to change. The social health condition Iran was a red status most of the time. Sometimes even the death toll rose to 800 plus a day. I was really trapped at home. The idea of death pushed me forward to look at things more appreciatively because I didn't know how long I would be alive there without my love. Zahra, I told myself, stay calm. Death might be knocking at the door, but your hope for a healthy life will not open it. Remember, I told myself, possibly it's better to be a bit creative to make the most use of the golden opportunity. Yes, golden opportunity. Yeah, golden opportunity, golden. For 13 years, I couldn't see my parents for more than 2-3 weeks a year. During this time, I was also too busy with my social life. I wish I could have some free time to read books or refresh my skills, to learn new things, and on the top of that, to hug and kiss my mom and dad with no limitation. Particularly, I could share my unspoken stories with my parents. Lots of them were left out due to the shortage of time. While there was a look of ecstasy for that overwhelming feeling of great happiness and joyful excitement, I sometimes felt anxious for being far from my husband. I could totally cope with the conditions and I could stay there for 10 months. During my stay, I started looking for happiness within me, the one that I love to see on my face in front of the mirror. Most of us have rare time to look into our own eyes to see the spark of joy, just like a child who's excited for a candy. I learned that nurturing and training my brain through training new skills via online workshops was an excellent way to boost my mental capability. Nurturing and regulating my emotions were a secret recipe of happier life with others, and nurturing and revising my viewpoint for a healthier lifestyle through healthier food, more exercises, and meditation were desirable to make a better version of me. The COVID-19 pandemic was a bit of Thanksgiving for me. It reveals zealousness sometimes comes out of simplicity, while thousands of people may think that is not cheerful. I could transform those cheerless moments to zealously cheerful lifestyle. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, who's that? Ginny, are you there? Ginny.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. My story.
Yes.
Title is Don't Wait.
No way.
Okay. The popular saying, "Time wait for no man." Our lives are a mosaic of little things, like putting a rose in a vase on the table. Unforeseen incidents can make us realize how precious our lives are. Since 2019, it was indeed a very challenging year because of COVID-19. The whole world was affected by this pandemic. I'm not sure whether God is punishing us or testing our faith. When Helen opened her wardrobe, there were a number of dresses which she bought to keep for special occasion. Then she started to think, why should I wait for that special occasion? After her friend Jane told her, don't ever save anything for a special occasion. Every day when you are alive is a special occasion. Then she began to understand why. Jane was once a dancer and had committed all her life in dancing. She got into an accident and became partially paralyzed. She was very depressed, and it was not easy to live by every day, hoping one day she has a chance to get up and dance again. All she had is to hope for a miracle to happen. Her faith in believing had gone further away, and she had withdrawn from the circle of her friends and stayed lonely and felt sad. One day, she met a blind girl named Susie at a busy market. Susie depended on her younger sister to help her selecting her things she wanted to buy. Susie could sense the presence of Jane when she was sitting on her bench next to her. Susie said to Jane, "You are very lucky, you can see." Jane suddenly realized that indeed she was lucky that she could see, even though she was crippled. Times passed by, months after months, years after years. Getting used to be on a wheelchair made Jane more determined not to give up hope on dancing. Gradually, a thought came into her mind. Instead of using her legs, she would start to work on her hands. Jane came up with an idea of creating Beautiful Mind, which became a hit to many of the crippled on wheelchairs. Beautiful Mind was a great motivation to many of the handicapped. Sponsors were becoming more generous to support this group and has attracted many talented dancers similarly to her case. One day, a film director from United States spotted her concert, and this would be a good example for many handicapped residing in the States having low motivation. Jane was invited to give a preview with all sponsored tickets, accommodation, and meals. Without hesitation, Jane took this opportunity and started a dance group there. Many came and was encouraged with the good comments. Jane was offered a 2 year contract to work on this dance project, which was an instant hit in the States. On the final year, before Jane headed home to Malaysia, she met an American surgeon who took an interest in her condition. He gave her hope that considering few tests and new medical techniques discoveries, there may be a possibility that she could be able to walk. Jane took the challenge and was hoping for that miracle to happen with a strong faith in God. The operation was a success and she could walk. And it took another year before she could start dancing. It was a new era for Jane, and with more creative ideas, she gave hope for the handicapped who loves dancing. The American surgeon, Dr. John, had been taking care of Jane throughout the operation and spending so much time with her, decided to marry her. Jane opened a studio catering for the handicapped, keeping her original theme, Beautiful Mind. This throwback episode reminded Helen of her mother, giving her to recapture her thoughts why she should not be angry, missing a flick of seconds. When Helen received news that her aging mother was admitted to hospital, she thought that she would call her later as she has to mark the long overdue papers the student had submitted. Since the pandemic, universities were closed, but more online classes and all assignments were demanding with deadlines. Her mother called her a few times, telling her that she wanted to see her before her admission to the hospital. There was no response from her. She called Helen again after the afternoon to the hospital, but Helen was too busy. After a few days, another phone call came through and Helen said, "Mom, can I get back to you? I've been so busy." "Sorry to interrupt you this, Helen. I'm Nurse Audrey from the hospital and sorry to inform you that your mom just passed on. She gave me your name and asked me to leave you this message." "What message?" Helen asked. "It says, since I cannot get through to you and you have not responded to my call, I have decided to change my will to leave all my properties, the land, the house, and the money to the homeless charity home. I told you many times already, please visit me or at least call me. Love, Mom." Helen was shocked. and asked Audrey, "Are you sure?" Audrey replied, "Madam Lai had already prepared herself before the admission. She desperately wanted to reach you, but you did not respond to her. So she asked me to call her lawyer over the phone and change the will. I have no choice but to be her witness. When she asked me to write this message for you, the lawyer came to endorse her signature 2 hours before she collapsed. I'm so sorry." Helen was in shock, realizing that her mother must be very angry with her, leaving her nothing. What else did she expect? Mother was always very independent, living alone for more than 30 years after her father passed on. She seldom visited her and hardly called her. Her mother was the one who called her all the time, and the telephone conversations were very routine and boring, asking, "How are you? How's the weather? Why are you so busy?" Helen seldom sent her money and only called her during festive season, and sometimes even forgot her birthday. She was confused and disappointed in the first place. But as time passed, she felt that her mother had the right to make her own decision. Her mother has been spending a lot of time as a volunteer in the homeless community. The reality, indeed, we should not wait. Time do not wait. We lost our loved ones and friends in just a flick of seconds, missing the opportunity to visit them. The instinct of visiting the sick or calling them should be our priority. My daughter missed the chance to video call from Canada with my mom in Miri. The doctors were busy fixing the tubes for dialysis, and just a miss of time, she went into coma, and that precious moment was lost. The words from my mom were very clear: "Visit me when I'm alive. Call me." I make a point to visit Trina, a dear friend, 2 days before she went into coma. And when she passed on after a few hours, I did not attend the funeral as I felt that it has no meaning. She already said this word to me: don't bring me flowers on my funeral. So there are choices to decide. Now with the recent hot topic about the various types of vaccine, such as Pfizer, Sinovac, and AstraZeneca, there's a confusion about side effects, and people were skeptical which vaccine is the best. But was there a choice? With the open registration for AstraZeneca for volunteers above 60s, I decided not to wait, but to go for it. I only know the basic knowledge that vaccination is simple, safe, and effective way of protecting people against the virus before they come into contact with the virus. So at least there's protection for our body to build resistance to specific infection and makes our immune system stronger. Then my friend forwarded news to me that all vaccinated people will die within 2 years. And I told her, if that is true, let's all die together and sing, "Que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be." At least we can sing and dance, read, and write together in the next world. And there will be no more one stream. So many people I know have died within these 2 years due to virus. For one thing I know, whatever time left for us to do, don't wait. Just do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Okay, we have listened to 3 stories. I have my own opinion, which I keep to myself for a while. And Miranda, can you assign the rooms? So one will be in the main room, the other 2, 1 and 2 will be in the other room. So whose story is in the main room? It should not be yours. Okay.
Yeah.
Just put Zara.
Could be
Zara.
Zara or Jenny?
Put Zara.
Yeah, Zara.
Okay, can you just select 3? 1, 2, 3.
Okay, I leave 3. All right. So I'm going to put the first 3 going to be in the main room, and now number 2, number 3.
So I think Jamila, Martin.
Okay, I'm just doing the one who's copying here. So Jaishi, Jenny, and Martin would be in one room, maybe with Bahara.
No, too many.
Too many? 3.
There are
okay.
only 9 of us, isn't it?
Right. Okay.
Okay.
So there are 3 there, and now for the other room, I'm going to put the other one. So Jamila. Okay. Wait. Sorry, not Jamila. Tanya, Zara, and Tim.
Oh, Tim.
Yeah, Tim.
Tim.
Yeah. So 3
Yeah,
people
okay,
there,
okay.
and then in the main room, David, Jamila, Behara, myself, and Danson.
Now, you should put yourself
Well,
in the other
Danson
room.
is going to go around.
Yeah, you put yourself in the other room.
Okay. How can I put
No,
myself
you have
in
to
the
be in
other
the
room?
main room.
I cannot. Okay, I can just join. I can just
Yeah.
join one room.
Join
All
one
right.
room.
Okay.
Is that okay,
so
guys?
Let's go.
Okay, David, Jamila.
Yeah, it's recording now. I think it's just recording our room.
I think, I don't know. You are not in the main room. I think
So
usually
we're going to talk about Miranda's story, isn't it? Just to
they
clarify.
didn't say anything about it. Which one you are going to talk about?
Yeah, that's a good point. They didn't, did they? They just said it wouldn't be.
Room. Which story? How are you, Tanya?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah. I wonder if we go into chat, is that only the 3 of us, or?
Yeah, the point with the breakout group is we discuss the story that is not one of our, not one of us.
Yeah. I was just wondering, Tim, whether they'd see it if we messaged, but probably not. We better do it on the story. You know what I mean, on the WhatsApp. Shall I just text them on the WhatsApp and make sure it's Miranda's we're doing? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
Good. I see what you do. Sorry, Zara, you've already done it.
So, which story? What are you doing? Excuse me.
What?
What are you doing?
Sorry, are you talking to me?
Yeah.
No. Oh, sorry, Sarah. I apologize. I just thought I'd use the WhatsApp and see.
Yeah, you did. You did,
Dunstan saw it.
Tanya. You did, Tanya.
Yeah, good. Excellent. Cool. All right. So hopefully they tell us in a minute. Hey, now what did you think? I thought, listen, I love your stories, Sarah, but we can't.
Sorry, very bad connection. I can't.
Yeah.
Oh,
Very
dear.
much connected. Their story was awesome.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
is
I wonder.
totally literally a story.
Exactly. And I thought the husband sounded like the perfect man. So I thought he sounds like the type we all want. So
So
Well, that's the twist in the story, isn't it?
yeah. Yes, probably. I'm just thinking, I'm just opening a Word doc so that we can write. Or Zara, would you like to do the recording of the like, you know, of our notes and things?
No, I prefer you do it because Miranda's writing is very, very difficult for me.
Oh, okay, well, I'll give it a go. All right, so I've just got to set Dunstan. Oh, right, okay, thanks, Tim. Yeah. Yeah.
So has Dunstan
All right,
come
well,
back to us?
No, he hasn't. Okay, I wonder if we should just start and because we can always flip. But shall we start on Miranda's story?
Yeah, it's fine with
So
me.
Yep. Okay. So and I'll just go back to what we were Yeah, you know, that plot thing, the theme. So what do we think the key value was? The key point? So, as I said, I thought the ideal man was involved there.
Of the Women's Day, but it was too expanded. That's why it became a story.
Right. So routine day expanded. Our group takes. Oh, okay. Right. Thanks, Tim. All right. Expanded. Right.
What about you, Tim?
Okay.
Steve, what's your idea?
I was quite enthralled with the whole story, so I was visualizing it flowing through. So it's a nice story. It's something I would think befitting of a podcast.
Right. Okay.
What about you, Tanya? What do you think?
Oh, I just thought it was beautiful, you know. Basically an old, as you say, a day in the life of an old woman, and yeah, just reflecting back on her life.
It was beautifully described.
Sorry?
It was beautifully described, a day.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, I would agree
Beautifully
with that. Consensus, yes.
You write down, which to jot on the
Beautifully
notes.
described. Okay. Right. Again, beautifully described. Yep. So what I've written so far is it was the routine day of an old woman. Routine day of an old woman, expanded and beautifully described. An old woman's.
Or let's say not the old woman herself, because I think her routine life, her lifestyle, or what she does regarding to her handworking, you know.
Sorry, I don't understand. Do you mean her life was routine, but
yeah,
it was
yeah, I mean the way that she describes it, every day it is happened. That's why we call it routine.
Right, yes.
Yeah, she was in a comfort zone, so to say. Comfort zone, she was in a comfort zone.
In her comfort zone. Right, yep. I'm just in her comfort zone. Yeah. Now I say, to be perfectly honest, like it was a bit, you know, like for me, I couldn't write something like that because it's too, I suppose, romantic, almost. Yeah, you know, like for most New Zealanders, you just wouldn't talk or write like that. Do you know what I mean? Like we tend, but I think the way she wrote it was beautiful. I really, really liked it. You know what I mean? It's a different style of writing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, she started with the theme of bird's eye sort of viewpoint. Is it a viewpoint from a helicopter view? I mean, her words used was bird's eye.
Right. Yeah. Bird's eye. Yeah.
So, but bird's eye cannot express it. The narration of the bird's eye, I think, who narrated the story? I mean, the narrator used the eyes of the bird to describe the old lady's chores.
I think she also borrowed some parts of point number 6 of viewpoints. So she switches the viewpoint from a bird's eye, and then from the husband and herself.
Yeah.
But the main, when we say viewpoint, is the main speaker. Surely we have some jumps here and there, but I think for point of view, is the main part of the story is told by who? Could Bert talk about it? Who saw the reflection on all these things? Who
Yeah, it's a
showed
bit
it?
weak on that. It was a bit weak on that.
Yeah, it was almost a god. There's almost a third, like there was the bird talk thinking, and then there was the old woman, but it's almost like there's a third person back there, you know, behind there, doing both. Okay,
But it
so we
wasn't
can
clear,
say,
was it? It wasn't clear. Explicit, I mean.
no. Hang on, so I'm going to add that viewpoint. So the viewpoint, the viewpoint switched a bit. So that switched a bit. So that's something we could say. Yeah, it's actually quite interesting doing this because I probably wouldn't have noticed that part, you know. It just struck me as being a classic third person one. But no, I agree. So it switched a bit. So that could be something she could improve. How do you think she could improve that? Like make it more clear who the narrator is?
I think the nature of her writing, as I mentioned, this is literary, and literary writing is the way that people use this style of writing, and this is not direct, and they usually personify objects and try to talk from the object's language, so
Right.
the language of the object. So I think I have no idea how she can improve it, because I'm not, the type of literary work is not my cup of tea, you know. I'm not very comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay.
Agreed. Her style is different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you see any plot in it? What was the plot?
Oh, the plot. Well, the plot was basically her life, wasn't it?
Plot.
So it basically skipped through her life, how the story is told. And the bird returning, it's like where was the bird, return of the bird?
So in plot we talk about who, what, why, how, I mean the order of the events. The order of the events, I mean, how was it explained from the very beginning to the end?
Yeah, so
yes.
So well, it began with the bird to old woman, didn't it?
And who the old woman's life, who regrets about, I mean, missing his her the husband, because he was so kind to her.
Yeah. To bird to old woman sort of shaking herself up. Yeah, and the old woman sort of shakes herself up a bit, doesn't she?
What we can consider as a plot, maybe plot is the time that she was very skillful in preparing that quilt, that it become nostalgia all the time that she returned to it. She remember how skillful she was, and surely now she couldn't be as skillful as before.
Yeah.
And
nostalgia. Yeah.
Why? I cannot follow plot as the way I learn through these sessions in her story. You know, I think Dustin should help us in this regard. Do you think there is a hook in it? Any hook?
Well,
sorry,
I thought the husband was, yeah. Sorry, I
it
apologize.
escaped me. The hook escaped me, or I couldn't see the hook.
For me, the hook was definitely the husband. He sounded fabulous.
Maybe
I just kept reading.
Maybe just crying. You see, just crying, and her eyes become wet most of the time. It's maybe for those who like this style of writing becomes a hook why she tried to why she, I don't know, no idea about it.
Okay. I certainly wanted to keep reading it anyway.
To tell you the truth, I, as a reader, because of lots of description and using great valuable, let's say, vocabularies, I couldn't engage it. Rather, I distracted. But this is her style. I cannot say anything negative, but I cannot to try to.
Well, that's a good point.
Maybe you, Tanya, has this problem. Could you grasp? You surely could grasp all the things, aren't you?
Oh yeah, yes, definitely. This was probably the easiest to grasp, as in yeah. I mean, I suppose also I've read some similar to this, but it was a good short story. I think a bit like almost a bit like Ernest Hemingway or one of his. You know, what did you think, Tim?
Actually, it sounded to me just like a story, and because my style, I'm more the technical writer kind of thing, so it just appears like a nice story to listen to on the Rediffusion or the radio, and just to occupy my time is entertaining. You know, I just couldn't spot those things which I'm supposed to spot for. You know, it's like an artist, you know. You see the picture, but you don't see the essence behind it. I'm one of those at the moment.
Where are you from, Tim? Sorry to ask you.
From Malaysia.
You're from Malaysia, okay.
What story are we looking at?
Zara's, Miranda's.
Is it?
Mirinda, the bird's eye view, and then going to the airport.
You didn't assign from the beginning. We just take Miranda.
All I know is we keep her in the main room, and then we break out and talk about her story.
Oh yeah,
that's what I thought.
Oh, okay, never mind. It seems like room 2 was also looking at this story.
Let's shift it. Let's shift it to another one.
So which means
Jenny's gonna be disappointed.
Oh no. Well, then we better switch to Jenny's. We did
let's
try
look
and
at
ask
Jenny's,
you on the what,
because I've just came out from room 2. They have already doing a summary of their evaluation of Miranda's.
Oh well, we did try and ask you in the
I wrote in the chat box.
Okay, let's look at Jenny's. I think she's the most straightforward thing. What's the theme of the story?
Yeah.
I think this one is a bit easier.
Yeah, using waiting for no time. Do as soon as you can.
Yeah, okay, that's the theme. Is that time waits for no person, all right?
Yeah.
How is she dealing with the theme? By looking at her own experience? No, by looking at the experience of a girl, isn't it? Who overcome difficulty, become a dancer, isn't it?
2, 3 girls, yeah.
Yeah, basically three perspectives, isn't it?
Yeah.
Jane's, Helen's, and hers.
Yeah.
And her, yeah. 3 people.
Yeah.
So she was the narrator of the other 2 stories, yes?
Right. Yes. Yep. I think. Sorry, I'm just typing. Helen's and hers. Right. Okay. So so those 3 perspectives, and she was the narrator. Yep, that's right.
Oh my God! Return back.
Oh. Yeah, they're asking us to go back now. Oh,
okay, don't worry.
Let's go back. Let's go back. Never mind. Let's go back because they're all there. Never mind.
Oh, okay.
Nah,
yeah,
no
don't worry. We'll make it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
And you take Miranda. So it was a confusion, and we didn't do anything for Jenny.
Yeah, we did do some. Yeah, wait.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Clarify that.
Where's Jenny? Jenny is not. Miranda, can you close
Yeah.
the other rooms?
Yeah, it's closing already. It's closed.
I can't find Jenny there.
Already closed.
There's only
Okay.
9 of us in here now. There's only 9 of us in here. It was
Yes,
11.
Jenny is here. That's
Jenny is
we're
back. Jenny is
okay, we're back. We're all here.
Okay, Jenny is back
Let's
now.
deal with the main room. Main room. Who's that?
Zahra.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Huh? Whose story is
The-
main room?
We're in the main room. We talk about Zahra's story.
Okay. Somebody want to summarize your discussion?
Miranda?
I'm not a good me.
No, I had my turn, Miranda. It's because you could voice it out better than me.
Come on, you guys.
No, not right.
Okay, let me ask a question. What is the theme of the story?
The theme of the story is the lady going back from one country back home.
No, that
It's
is
the
the outline
story.
of the story. What's the
No,
what she's
I
going to
think
bring
the theme
across?
is
happiness.
pursuit of happiness and rediscovering happiness
The
from within.
happiness is from within, isn't it? Is that what she's talking
Right.
about, right?
Yeah.
And then how she want to illustrate that is through the story which Pahara just said about this lady going back and then remember something. She remembers what? I didn't quite catch it just now.
Sorry?
She was waiting
the
at the airport,
grandmother's
then she
story.
remembered, huh?
The plot.
Remember
You're
the
talking about the
grandmother's story.
plot.
Oh yeah, she remembers the
she was-
grandmother's story. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was sad and then remembering the mothers and remembering what is really important, which is their happiness is within
Okay.
herself.
That's the theme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Right. I thought that was the plot.
yeah, and
that
that
was
was
the
just in the theme we just described roughly what she's trying to. The
Yeah,
plot is a bit more
the-
details, right? The plot would be
Right.
like started with her sitting at the airport and then reflect the story. You have to give a bit of outline of the story, isn't it? What's the story about? The grandmother's story.
Yeah, the grandmother's story about an old man who he cannot live forever, something like that he would die sooner or later. So he decided to stop being mean and just be happy, basically.
Jamila, agree with that?
Yeah, we discussed that. Exactly
Yeah,
the
yeah.
same.
Okay.
We
And then
discussed that.
what happened? How did it end? Went back to the airport again, right?
Huh?
No, went to Iran. Went home.
She stayed on in Iran and realizing the joy that she could
Okay.
have and be grateful for what she
Yeah.
has.
Okay. All right. Any other amen? Any other comment?
And the setting was at the
Okay.
airport.
Yeah.
And
And in Iran. And in
And
Iran.
Iran.
yeah, in Iran, yes. The good parts first.
Yeah.
The writer and the old man, those are the characters. And as for viewpoints, first person, it was a narration. And the story was told in a narration way and some
Frozen.
dialogue. So the rest can add in to what I said. There's one thing only that we couldn't find. I couldn't find the hook. Maybe I can't detect the hook. Right,
Okay.
Pihara? We discussed that.
No,
just
you're
now,
not
Miranda?
alone. You're not alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I would change the word hook, because I
Mm.
got caught up with the public speaking thing on hook. I think I'm trying to look at something which describe how do you keep your readers
Engage.
Moving.
engaged. Yeah, so it's not like in the public speaking we start with the opening line, right, and then we hook them, right? But as a story writer, we in our progress of a story, there is always something. That's why we use the term page turner. They want to turn what's happening next,
Mm.
something like that. Yes. Any overall comment?
I didn't find the hook. I think everything
Yeah,
was
that's okay.
was already told then and there, and the story ends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the very good imaginations,
Yeah.
really good imagination in terms of story. But I think with 1,600 words, it doesn't allow her to have a flow that connects all the topics that she wants to cover. I actually check up on TU8900, doesn't exist. Or which airline is it? Things like that. Just wanted to know, because you don't say like you landed in Iran. So I thought maybe your hint was there already, but Turkish airline is TR and TU, T something. Yeah. So
That I have
to me, it's
I had to stay in the airport for 18 hours. So it means that
Yeah.
I'm on transit.
Okay.
oh.
So is Pahara, your suggestions that maybe it can be a bit more tighter, right?
No. I think it's just that if this develop into a full story, she has a lot of imagination inside there. She can then expand on some of these areas so that the flow of the story of people knowing is like as if the person is following her through the whole
It's
journey.
1,600 words, is it?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think close to that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Don't worry about the words. I mean, you can have very short stories under. Still
It's less
very, very
than
close.
1,200.
Yeah, it doesn't
Oh,
matter
okay.
because the means we use always for publishing in a column is the 1,000 word plus minus, right? Plus minus. And as a writer, we should learn how to be economic with our use of word, but at the same time, word which is so you don't have to use 5 words to. Sometimes you can use 1 word to describe something rather than 5 words. That's what we have to learn anyway. I mean, we evolve over time, right? But in the beginning, maybe it takes us. We are, what's the term? We are more cumbersome, you know. Or sometimes our sentencing by foot. Our sentences can be a bit clumsy. So it takes us a long time. But as you become better, you become much more concise. Remember, I sent you guys the opening paragraph of Charles Dickens' Tale of Two Cities, right? You see those group of words. Oh my God, it covers so many things, you know. So many things covered. You can immediately see something, but because he was a master of words, he can do that, right? So this is what we emulate. We try to emulate that, and
I think, to be fair, I like the story.
Yeah.
I like the story.
We can always become better.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe
Any other last
1,600
words?
you can get everything in.
Yeah. Any other last words from you guys? Then we can move on. All right.
Well, just wanted to check, Sarah, did you think of the story in your language and then you write it in English?
No, of course not. I think in English and write in English.
Okay.
Okay.
No, just
Maybe there are some trace of, because I am not a native speaker, some trace of interlanguage may appear in the writing, you know. My first language is Farsi, so there should be some interlanguage because I haven't learned it among the native speakers.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. If I can just give, okay, when you're done.
sorry.
Rada, yours?
Yeah. So this is, you know, like I just read it. I mean, what I really noticed, Sarah, when you're telling the story, it's like you're such a great storyteller. I mean, I could just listen to your voice and not really listening to words, and I would just be enjoying that. And the reading is a little bit different because it's written, and I get the sense or experience that as if you can picture, or you know, like you see the story very clearly in your mind, but it doesn't come out in the writing.
Yeah.
So us, not being privy to your mind, is like we're missing quite a few things. Like when you let's say when you said, for example, like the old man was like what, mean, nasty. Like we don't know what that looks like, right? So kind of like wanting to know more. How is that? And then when he changed to become like I think you said peace, satisfied, and kind. We also want to know what that is. You probably have a very clear picture, but not us, and that doesn't come out in the writing. And I felt like
yeah.
a lot of questions to that. Yeah.
Miranda brought that up because that is one of the first things we try to improve in our writing is this. Number one, I think I did mention it before, is that first, the writer or the storyteller creates the world, right? So she visualized the world. Now she's inviting the listeners, or in this case, the readers, into that world. Now it's clear, as Miranda said, the world is in your mind, but is it in the mind of the readers? That's our challenge. Nobody is perfect. The same thing you feel as you sit in the airport. Don't know what? So we are keep on trying to improve so that we can bring them in. And remember the exercise I introduced to you guys before on where we break the stories into different scenes, and in each scene there are certain emotions. All right. Now, how do you evoke that emotion? Is where you, as a writer, you have to think. You have to rack your brain. How do you evoke that emotion? If you sit at the airport, feel a sense of loneliness, all right, then how do you evoke the sense of emotion in the readers? That sense of loneliness. That is the acid test for us as writers. We just have to keep on striving. We can never get it perfect, but the nearer we are to transfer the image in our head into the head of our readers, the better we are. Yeah, I think that is the lessons we all know, and we are in this group. We are striving towards that, and I find that interesting. But the only way to improve is keep on writing. Sorry about that. I mean, I know it's a cliche, right?
Yeah.
Forget about having to learn techniques now. Now it's a question of doing it. And yeah.
And also maybe if I can just add one little thing is in the writing, because now you're like we have to be there, like to read you.
Yeah.
When you speak it, there is the, what do you call that, the punctuations, that's all very clear. But when they're writing, if everything is all packed together, I think the space is important, the point, the period, the comma, because so then we know, okay, this is the break, this is like the thinking. But I feel like that's something that you could maybe just, when you write, maybe make shorter paragraphs or something like that, so it's just a bit easier to read, and we can feel the punctuations. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Do you think reading other short stories can help me more?
Sorry?
Reading other short
reading
stories,
is always
for
good.
example.
Good writers would read. Not only read. You see, in the past, maybe you just read. But if you read it intelligently with this in mind, and you say, oh my God, see how the writers does it. You see, for example, when I read Dickens, and I say, wow, Jesus, guys, this guy is good,
Right.
You see how he used these words, you see? So you begin to appreciate this, and then you try to copy it in your own way. But before, we just read. So this is now, as you go into literature again and read, you find that you begin to be more perceptive.
Right.
And something like that. Yeah. But I'm afraid it means just keep on doing it. Can we move to the next one?
Thank you.
Who's that?
Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks. Who's the next one? Hello.
Yeah, I can be the next one.
Which one is that?
On,
Jay, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Miranda Rumi's.
Yeah. So both group has looked at Miranda's story,
Oh,
right? And so you get double dosed. Okay, Jay, can you do that first?
wow.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think yeah, we need to clarify that a little bit more in the future.
Okay.
Yeah,
The
Maybe
theme,
we make the rooms,
the
yeah.
theme with a bit of help from Dunstan is like an old lady talking about her life at the present and then going back about her husband, how the bird was picked up. So it's like, for me, it's like, okay, now life is now here, and then I'm turning back my diary, going back to the past. So it's a juxtaposition of the past and the present. And the language is beautifully used. Of course, very elegant. You can see the color, like magenta, turquoise, I think she mentioned. And then the crackling of the oil, that's a sound, was there. Putting of the salted fish and then more crackling of the oil and the shallots that is full and so forth. Give us a very rich setting, if you will, very detailed. Yeah? However, what else did we talk about? Yes. However, we thought the balance is not quite ideal because we were still waiting for the story. A lot of beautiful language about the pond and so forth. So we thought the story might be a bit thin, but the setting was beautifully done. Nice, beautiful language, elegant language. So it was, even though it's seen through the eyes of a bird, it's like being like the bird is looking at her life and then telling you the story. So it's like, so the perspective is from a third person, but it is really her telling the story. Okay, we did not find any hook or many hooks because there's nothing for us to anticipate. We're just waiting, or I was just waiting and waiting for the story to emerge. Beautiful setting, and then the story came out in small doses, like the little boys coming to exchange pleasantries, and she gave them something, and they might give her fish. So that was our evaluation. Anything else? Characters, we didn't mention that. Plot, we didn't mention. Okay, how the story moved was, I thought, it's back and forth to the past, like turning the pages of a diary plus the present. So that's all from us. I hope I haven't missed any point. Jenny and Martin, you can add on if I've missed anything. Thank you.
Can I say something by hearing the story? I do find the hook there. What I detected is that the bird is a mysterious one. I would like to know what kind of bird is that. So that's the hook. So when I keep on reading to find out if there is any line or any word that describes that particular bird who is telling the story of what is happening at that particular moment. So there is no, so I want to know what bird is that. So that's my hook.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Jamila.
Okay.
The other
rest,
group is
very
also looking
beautiful.
at the same stories. Maybe Tanya, Tim, and who is the other one? Is it David? Is it? David.
David
where?
was in the main room. David
No,
was
no.
in the main room.
No, I think we
Tim, Tim, Tanya, and who's the other one?
Oh, and Sarah. Sarah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will you want to
Now,
add something?
well, I'm sorry, Dunstan, but when we realised that
Yes.
yeah, that we were meant to be doing Jenny's, I actually wiped everything I'd written about Miranda's and started frantically typing for Jenny's. Because
Okay.
we did manage to get through some about Miranda's. Yeah, we had some interesting dialogue about it. I thought the hook was the husband, actually. I thought he was fabulous. You know, I would have read, I read it a few times just to hear about him, you know. So, but yeah, personally, I loved your
story, Miranda, and just the description as well. I'm presuming that it's rural Malaysia, rural East Malaysia somewhere, is it? You know,
Indonesia.
I think it's Indonesia. I think it's
Actually,
Indonesia.
it's actually
From the
like a
terrace of the
conglomeration
paddy fields, the
of
paddy
many
fields.
things.
gorgeous. Yeah,
It's a
but
conglomeration of elements, you know, there's my grandmother there and there's all kinds of things and nostalgia and melancholy and all that, getting old.
yeah. Oh no, it was amazing. Gosh, I know. I thought it was more like I don't know, what's his name, Hemingway, like one of his. You know, he writes sort of some of his are a bit similar to that.
Actually, there is a expression we use in literature. I think it's called impressionistic writing.
Right.
Yeah, there's also, you know, that if you read some of them, I think the Imlik door, something kind of the red door, or something. It's kind of impressionistic writing, right? And I like to hear what the others think. Tim, you were there?
Sorry,
Who's
I've
there?
just lost my notes. That's all.
Yeah. Can't hear him. You're muted. Tim, you're muted.
Tim, can't hear you.
Yeah, turn off your mic. Yeah, turn on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I thought my focus on it's like, okay, explain to you. It's like art. I'm more skewed to now look at viewpoints and things of that sort. The theme I found wasn't. I just follow it as a very entertaining story, you know, chronologically from this point to that point. I couldn't find any hooks. I'm sorry, but I thought the viewpoints were pretty interesting, shifting it from the view of a bird, husband, wife. So that I thought was interesting. I think Tanya has the rest of the notes, isn't it? Where have you put it?
Oh, I actually, it's terrible. I wiped them because I started frantically writing Jenny's. Because look, Jenny's, yours was also great. Shall we talk a bit about that or not? Or do we now want to do Jenny's after?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
since you have it, why not just?
Can we just sum up Miranda's one? I just want to find out from Zara, you are there. Do you have any last words to say about Miranda's writing? Zara, are you still there?
Sarah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed and I can say amazed at her descriptive way or style of her writing, because so many words were there and I couldn't understand them. And that is my problem. That is not. That shows that how much she wrote it professionally, and I think to great extent it was a sort of literary writing. And in literary writing, because of the too much explanation and description of the things and objects or people, the person cannot finish it within 1,000, for example, 600 words, and that's why others are waiting for the rest of the story. What happened to the husband?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, can I sum up a bit? First, one point is this: I think we are living in a challenging time now. It's let's say 150 years, 100 years, or well, in the old days, let's put that way, or even 50, 60 years ago, people are much hooked onto reading, and they are more patient. They are more patient. Now, in the present world, people are very impatient, right? The attention span is there. So there is always a tendency. That's why you got all this nonsense going on the YouTube and all those kind of, they are very short and punchy, right? They just can't stand anything longer than 5 minutes or something like that. That is our challenge, right? But we want to challenge that. Somebody posted something, I think it was Ivy, posted a message to me saying that in one of the chat group or what they call Clubhouse or whatever, they said that the book industry, the printed version is coming back. Yeah, I did notice it in the last year or so that there was a time when we thought it's dead, all right, and that everything goes easy. But now you notice that they are starting to come back. The printed version is starting to come back. So all is not lost, actually. And is the term you call it, right? What am I talking about? Talking about Miranda's work. And I agree with all of you guys. And my impression is that Miranda's is very good descriptive. She really visualized the world. And we see the world as she described it, you know, the colors, everything like that. That is first class, right? And the only few, that's why I relate to Jenny's writing later on, is that the only balance I feel, which I think Tim and Tanya did mention, is that maybe the story itself had to be a bit clearer. The storyline has to be clearer. The setting is fantastic, you know. We see all the colors, we see all these things, but we're saying, well, what's going on here? You know? Now, this is a style. Don't worry about it, right? Each one of us have our own style, right? This is her style, right? Some of us are much more direct. I'll give you an example from cinema. Now, if you look up in the cinema world, there are some directors who are famous for being very slow. That's why we said that film is a bit slow, right? And they can focus on the falling leaf. They can focus on the dew drop and things like that. There are some directors like that. There are quite a few of them. Yeah. And then the other side of the coin is the Hong Kong like type, right? Where they're killing people, or the Hollywood one where they kill 1,000 people every few minutes, right? And think zoom, fast action. That is the opposite end, right? Those are the two ends. And this is essentially what I call genre, right? It's a style. If you look at John Woo, the famous what's his name, the Hong Kong fella who write for Hollywood, his films are kind of fast moving, right? But if you read some of the Eastern European directors, they're slow. But what they're trying to do is to evoke certain feeling in you. It's not so the challenge for the writer or the film director, whoever it is how can you slow down without being boring? And that is the challenge here, right? So the sheer beauty of your prose can hook them. Not the action, not Arnold Schwarzenegger killing 1,000 people. That is what is, why he's killing this guy, shooting all these things. But that is a big challenge, But that's what I see in Miranda's writing. I can visualize the world. I can feel, I can smell the fish being fried and things like that, all right? So she has taken us into that world, but we are wondering what is that world, So that part you can balance it out later on. Now, the reason why I bring it up, so this means what's the story? So the balance with Jenny's one, now we go into Jenny's. The Jenny's one is outright story. You notice that there's a story happening, somebody happening who became dancer, then she was so busy, forgot about the mother, things like that. That's a story, we know the story. So what Jenny can balance is a bit of Miranda's, isn't it? The feeling of sadness, of anguish, of the mother, that part didn't come out. Actually, that's a very emotional part, didn't come out, right? So Jenny's challenge should be to bring that in. If you combine the two styles, it'll be great. There is the story clear. In the case of Jenny's, there's a clear story, right? There is the theme is that time waits for no person. Now, do it now, right? And so we learn, That's why it's good for us to listen to each other's stories. Then we begin to see different style, all right? We evolve, and otherwise you'll be stuck in yours forever. And you say mine is this style, But actually, as you begin to learn, then you realize, hey, look at how they do it. So Miranda can say, wow, how Jenny tells her stories. It's quite simple and clear. All right. And then Jenny can look at Miranda's one. Wow, how Miranda tells the story. It evokes all the feelings, the emotions in me. So if I can marry the two, then I'll become better, right? That's what you guys are teaching us, you know. As we are reading your story, we're learning from you. And my challenge to you guys is now the ball is in your court. And remember Jenny's story. Time for action is now. So don't read anymore about techniques. Just go down and try it out, right? While we're on that score, Jenny's story, I have actually a story, very short one, but a sad one. A real story is this. I had a very good friend, and some of you may know him. His name was Raphael Scott Abeng. Ever heard of him? All right. For those from Sarawak knows he's a very famous artist. Right. And he was a good friend of mine and my brother as well. And I used to go and visit him in his studio and things like that. And one day, my brother phoned me saying that he's very ill and he's in the hospital, right? And I said that, and then he mentioned me because we're good friends, and I was writing an article about him, things like that. So he mentioned, ask Johnston to come and see me, you know, I mean, so that we can chat. He was in the hospital. Now, this is up to now, I can feel the pain in my heart is this. I was having, at that time, this pre-NCO. So I had to go to KL for a workshop or whatever is that, go do some training there. So I said, okay, I'm going to KL in a couple of days. So maybe I visit him when I come back because now I have to prepare this. I have no time at the moment. Basically, I'm saying that, all right? When I was in KL, I received news that he died. Yeah. Dia is a very good friend of mine. And that's exactly what Jenny was talking about. You know? There's no time, right? I could have visited him in the 2 days before I went to KL. I said, look, it's better that I go to KL, come back, then I can visit him. But this is something I have, when I brought some young writers, one person who wants to be a writer, I always bring them and talk to people and ask them to script, right? So she has prepared an article or something about Abeng, and she submitted it to me to have a look. And I was saying, yeah, we need to improve this. We need to go back and see him. Of course, we never go back. He died, you see. And this is fact of life. Yeah. Okay. All right. I think it's very good of us to be able to listen to all the good stories, and I think we learn something. We learn something. And my only parting word is that get writing. And if you guys, so I'm going to ask this question now. Should I sign on the dotted line to say, yes, we can submit a story every week, right? For the next 10 years or whatever it is. I've done 13 years, huh? You remember this, right? And it can work. There are 10 of us, so I'm sure we can help each other, right? Is that okay? Is silence means consent or what?
Okay.
Yeah?
It's okay.
Because I used to do it. Dunstan, and I would be scrambling before the deadline, but I get it done because I had to.
Yeah.
And they say that they work better with deadlines. So we are going to have a deadline to write something.
Somebody said that deadline is the best motivation, and it's true. And as I said, the basically use 1,000 words as anything.
Really?
Yes, but it's just a short story writing. I did tell you guys.
I used to write more like a motivational, you know, like something that happened, and then I learned from it, and then you know how it affected me and what how did I get out of that? Something.
Yeah,
like
maybe
that.
get away from that. Do what you have just done.
So this is more like a story.
Yeah, you know, you are evoking something. You know, do what you have just done. You guys have just done it. stories. Forget about because I know I come from the same background as Miranda, and saying that every time we go up the stage, give motivational talk, this and that, we have a kind of a purpose, but this is a different genre. This is a different thing we're talking about here. Now, many years ago, I don't know how many years, I forgot the number of years now. By the way, Miranda, I thought that your theme was the passage of time. How the passage of time changes, your experience through the husband, and then how the husband pick up the birds, and then how the boys, and I did mention to the other group one particular sentence there, or a couple of sentences. He said that the boys come to visit him, and now the boys has grown up, and they have different interests. And that line actually is very powerful, if you think about it, right? Just like when you have a baby, the babies, when they're under 2 years, are very cute. But then, in the blink of an eye, they're already 5 years old, and they're running around destroying things. All right, things like that. You see, so that sentence about she had this relationship with the boys who help her and things like that, and then the boys has grown up.
Yeah, and there's sadness there for me.
Yeah. It's a parting of ways, isn't it? You see, there's a lot of things going on there, So you see, if you don't have to have many words, you see, there's certain things going on there. All right. What I was saying. What was I saying? I forgot.
The contract, or was it?
Oh, yeah.
The stories.
You said you guys are going to do it, all right? And if some of these 2 stories can be improved a bit further, I will submit it as a first draft for them to have a look. And they say, good, we want more of this. Then I said, okay, then we become famous. At least we are published regularly, online as well. And then you can put in the Facebook, my story, things like that, right? So we will do that. You guys accept this challenge, right? And no pressure, because there are 10 of us who can carry each other along, right? And the other thing is this. I know when we start on a column, you have to remember your commitment is regular. That's when the deadline is happening all the time. And I just want to tell you this story about the story of everybody, anybody, and nobody. You know this story, all right? Now, this is the assignment. Everybody can carry it out, or something like that. And everybody thought the other person is going to write the story, and in the end, Mr. Nobody wrote it. Right? So remember that. So the other thing is this: while we are on this issue of columns, is a lot of people when they start a column, they get very excited, and I've seen it, and they don't last more than 3 months or 4 months, because it's not easy to keep something going for years. But it changed. We already nearly 10 o'clock. I don't have. Okay, let's do the impromptu one very quickly. It's going to be very fast. It's the prize is who can do the story in the shortest time using the 5 words without make sense. Is that okay? All right, we just do it. So if each one of you spend 2 minutes one story, then we can finish by 10, 15 latest. You ready? Yeah, ready? Okay, I'm going to share the screen. And where am I? I just pick somebody. I don't wait for you guys to see that. Let me start. Jamila is the first picture on my thing. Now I'll start the story. It was a dark night, and thunder and lightning outside, and the rain was slashing the window. Suddenly, I had a knock at my door. I was saying, now who was that this time of the night and this kind of night would knock at our door? Jamila opens the window, on the door, and start. Jamila, I can hear you. Unmute.
Right. And then I thing. What does it look like? It was so hairy. Is it a monkey? But the wave, they might be able to see me now. Okay, I'm trying. So I started waving and waving, but I do not know. Somehow or other, I woke up, opened my eyes. Hey, I'm in a mall, Boulevard Shopping Mall. How come I'm in here? And I could see a few people swimming in the swimming pool. Oh my gosh, I must be
Miranda,
dreaming.
yeah,
Am
you're
I?
done swimming. Miranda, this is your words. Miranda.
Yes. Oh, yes, I was at the mall and there were red rose garden around it, which I thought was weird because usually you don't have red rose garden in the mall of all places. Hey, but wait, there's a swarm of dragonfly around one flower. So I came close, I went close and peeked and looked. What's there? Oh, I smelled something. This is no good. It smelled like a dead something. Ooh, let me look. So I poke and peeked underneath, and there it was, a tiny chicken, not quite a grown one yet, not a tiny one, dead with the neck slashed. Oh, that's not good. Somebody, this is cruel. I looked around and see who did this. I just wanted to blame someone. You know, I felt very shaken by this, seeing a dead chicken by the mall. If I could find that person, I would send him to jail. It was too much. I need to calm myself. I'm looking for some dessert.
Okay.
to soothe
Martin,
my emotion.
Martin. Unmute, Martin. Okay.
Yeah. Well, the desert is excellent to reflect and to make introspection. To be in nature can make us a better person because we are going to behave with our environment. It is an incredible sensation to be here. But my main concern is what is going to happen with all this. Because it's amazing how God did all these things, but we are destroying them. We are not taking care. For example, here, a few plants, they were burned with fire. I don't know why people, they don't care about that.
Continue.
Okay, good. Wow, it is indeed a unique scene to be able to perceive and to be in a desert, but I'm not in a desert. I'm now in the middle of Myanmar, and I feel, what the hell am I doing in Myanmar? I have to strengthen my my inner self and say, I should be able to face this kind of environment. It's bushy, it's undergrowth, thick and heavy. But then I was thinking, that's my purpose of coming to Myanmar, is to observe elephants. Elephants, not normal elephants. We heard of white elephants. And today is the day that I will see white elephants. But I've been waiting for so long. So today is my last day, and I must look for them. I must listen. I must use my binoculars, whatever, to discover this wonderful natural animal. But then I'm also very, very thirsty. Now, what's in my mind now? I'm just thinking of a nice, cool ice cream to have while I'm watching the nature, watching for a white elephant. Thank you. That's for me.
David, unmute yourself.
Yeah, actually, I'm not ready because just now the battery of the computer went off. So I'm charging again.
So are you ready to continue the story? Did you hear the stories?
Only partially. I think pass on.
Ajay, what was your last sentence?
I was in the middle, and I was middle of the jungle, and then I was suddenly very thirsty. I was thinking of a sweet ice cream.
You ate ice cream. Okay.
Yeah. ice cream.
Jenny?
Oh, I love cheesecake. Oh, really? Where is the place that we can get cheesecake? Okay, let's watch some Olympics over the TV. Which country do you think you can win the best
Cheesecake. There should be a linkage. You see, the story should be linkage, not random.
I'm
right?
lost at word. I'm trying to find the
No,
word.
think about which
What is-
country was it? You said Cuba, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, no, I'm trying to find athletes with the
Volleyball.
country with the best athletes.
Cuba.
Okay,
Cuba is the best.
so I don't even know the word hue. Actually, you.
Use color.
Color.
Okay, let's put together all these things together and let's keep ourselves in the warm computer and enjoy the cheesecake while watching Olympics and see which country wins the best.
You're not
Yes.
any. There's another word there.
Hue.
No,
Okay,
after you, then you have another word.
incubator. Yeah,
I
that's
don't know
what I
who wrote
say. Let's put ourselves in a warm incubator on a cold day to enjoy the cheesecake while watching the Olympics. Country.
Is there anybody else? I think Tim, is it? Tim,
Oh my
Tim.
goodness.
Tim, unmute yourself, please.
Tim,
Yeah,
can
I'll
you-
try despite a very tired mind. Okay, it's penguins. Oh, I didn't know there were penguins on
What about
the
penguins?
scene. Hey, I never knew there were penguins in the plot of Romeo and Juliet. I only saw it when it's written on a pencil. So I guess the place where you get a pencil, it's probably from a college. And what do you find in a college? Oh, people who cook well. And they're chefs of the best kind in this world. Next.
Tanya.
My goodness, what a day I've had. I've seen monkeys and I've swum in moors and I have spent time in the deserts and in Myanmar looking for white elephants. And my goodness, I've also watched TV in Cuba. So now I think it's time for me to sit down with a baked Alaska and have my Japanese curry chicken while I drink a whole bottle of red rosé and finish it, wash it all down with a huge bowl of sushi.
Oh, Alaska.
Pardon?
Alaska.
Baked Alaska.
Oh,
It's a dessert.
Bomb, Alaska. Okay.
Yeah, baked
Yeah.
Alaska.
Okay. Who's next? Is it Mila? Is it? No.
Already.
Behera.
Is that-
I think she left.
I already left.
No, I see the picture is still there.
Is she?
No.
I have
Zara has left. Only 10 of us now.
Jamila, just do it.
I've done.
Just do it. I just have a few more.
Opahara.
I've done it. I've
Yeah,
done that.
do it again. Martin,
Martin.
okay, wait. Let's stop here first. Now, the idea is that you should have a linkage, all right? So that if your mind is very agile, you can link in. Some of you guys just stop and then start something else. So it's stop, and start. No, it should be link.
Mm.
Then it's a story, isn't it?
Mm.
And in the past, when we did this exercise, never mind, we can round off. In the past, we have this exercise. We used to give award for the person who can use the 5 words in the best story form and linkage at the shortest possible time, not the longest, huh?
Mm.
The shortest possible time. For example, what was the last word? Somebody said chef. Is it sushi?
Sushi.
Yeah, I know sushi. You know, you need fresh food. So which means I would go scuba diving looking for the fresh fish underneath. And when I come it out, then I saw this grandma who was cooking in a thing. So I said, "Can you prepare this for me?" So yeah, she took a knife and she cut it. And by the time she cut all the meat up, she has the head of the fish. She said, "What should I do?" "Oh, I make soup. I make a soup." So she made a soup, and I said, "Look, when you make a soup and if you leave it there, make sure you cover the pot because sometimes lizards comes in. Yeah, it's okay. I'm not worried about lizards. I just catch them by the head and throw them into the grass. Something like this, as quickly as possible, right? And this is to give you practice in quickness in saying things and linking things up. You understand? Okay. All right, I think we can kind of round up now. One last word for you guys. Any words you want to ask? Any Q&A? Any whatever it is?
I enjoyed tonight. Very, very, very meaningful session. And I
Okay.
got the 3 stories. I really learned a lot of things. Yes.
Good.
So
So,
the genre of the people.
Okay, so if I want to rewrite my story with more feelings, where do I submit? Do I keep it?
Us again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, all right.
Remember, I tell you, when you submit your story, you must have your name, the name of the stories, the
Right.
title of the story, your name, and the date. Huh? So if you use edited, you put there the date and bracket edited.
Okay, all right.
You
Yeah.
see, so that we know, otherwise we lost track.
Okay,
And because,
noted.
for example, Tanya submitted second race. I think I was trying to work out which version now in my computer. I get confused, right?
All right, all right. Thank you.
Yeah, if I can give a suggestion when you
Yes.
edit, I usually put like the ref, you know, that means it's revised, and then you can say like V1, so version 1, and then version 2, version 3,
Yeah,
like
okay.
that, so that
Can
there
you,
is the
can you give
progression.
us the format of that? Huh? Just to
Okay.
make sure, yeah, so
Yeah.
that we
I'll
harmonize
put
it.
it in the group.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
What else?
I'm still waiting for Dunstan to read my story.
Yeah,
the
look,
article.
I have a deadline hanging over my head tomorrow, so I'm struggling at the
Because
moment.
right at the moment, I do not know where I am actually.
Yeah, let me finish writing tomorrow. Then I submit it. Then I read yours.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, one thing we learned from here is that we have to tighten up on our organizational side, but we're getting better, you know, and we get the stories confused, right? And things that we got getting better. And we knew that it's impossible to assign the people, because we're not sure what happened at the last minute. People may not turn up and things like that, right? So we still assign on the day itself, but we just have to be a bit clearer, right, in terms of that. And maybe the meeting host. Now it seems that the meeting host is between Miranda and Ivy, right? And then they will just do it beforehand. And other thing is this, please read the stories. If you can print it out or can have it in front of you when you have discussion, it'll be better because you have the hard copy in front, you see? Either on your phone or the second computers. So when you discuss, it's easier rather than trying to remember what was being said, right? And that way, look, we're helping each other here, and it'll be great. Anything else? I have one last announcement. Okay, so next educational session, which we're going to do is next Friday, isn't it? And it is about
Next Friday, in 2 weeks, right? In 2 weeks time.
In
Isn't
between this is called the main session where we analyze, where we listen to your stories and feedback. In between, we have the education sessions, right?
Yeah.
So the next Friday, the one is called calling out or summoning the.
This is a very complex topic, even though it might seem simple when you get in.
Who's talking? No. Okay. It's called summoning the muse or the muses or the muse, right? And the term muse is being used a lot by writers because it's the inspiration. Actually, if you look at the Googles and all that, you find that the muses, the 9 muses, were the daughters of Zeus, and they are all have different specialties. Some in poetry, some in music, some in art. They are the goddess who gives inspiration to these artists. So as writers, we're always looking for the muse, we call it, right? So sometimes any inspire, nowadays we use the term, the muse means anything which inspire you to write, right? So so the next one is the education session. We talk about summoning the muse. So when you have a deadline, you cannot wait for the muse to visit you. You know, those ladies are flying around in the sky, right? So we want to summon them. Hey, come here now. I have a deadline, right? So how to summon the muse? Muse is the term we use. Mean how do you prepare, break the? I don't know whether you guys are familiar with the term called the writer's block. Is a horrible thing. It can happen, huh? And I used to be very smug about it. He said, I never had a writer's block for 10 years and people used to describe. I said, I don't know what it means. And then he hits me one day, and honestly, just blank. And if you look at some of the movies, there are some stories about writers who went absolute crazy and they booked themselves up to a chalet in a mountain where there's nobody, and then they sat there by themselves and they lock themselves and they only eat whatever it is there, and then they try to write and finish the novel. Some of them did, some of them didn't, and they went crazy and jumped into the lake. This kind of nonsense, right? But it is real. It can happen to you. So the next one, we talk about summoning the muse. So how do you call these muses? Come here, look, I need to write. So I share with you the method which I use, all right? And Ivy is going to share about using data to write. I'm not sure what it is, but a way. So I have two methods which I use. I've tried it in the past and it works for me. It may not work for everybody, but I will tell you this anyway. One is called random, the other is called linear, right? And I will share with you in the next one, and we do a bit of exercise on it and you see how it works, right? Okay, that will be one. And if somebody else want to share their secrets, by all means, share how you break out of the writer's block, right? How you summon the muse, up to you. But if you have any advice, we can just go ahead with that.
I have an app that I could share.
Yes, apps. Yeah.
AI, like artificial intelligence.
Yeah. Okay, you can do that. I'm a very traditional person. I'm always very skeptical about all these modern gadgets. I always believe in my own little gray matters. But do share, okay? Miranda, I shared you there. Me, Ivy, and Miranda, three of us. I will send the.
Next Friday. I that's my club's meeting. I cannot. Oh, I cannot. Sorry, not on Friday. Yeah.
How you guys with Saturday morning? Because I'm looking.
I thought we're doing like Saturday morning.
Huh?
We like alternate,
Yeah, this is not the This is not the main meeting. This is the in between. Are you guys okay on Saturday morning? Can I hear you guys saying something?
Which Saturday?
Saturday, I'm fine.
Next Saturday.
What time?
On the
10.
19th.
If it's Saturday, it's 10. If it's Friday evening, it's 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m.
Should be okay.
10 a.m.
Usually okay.
I'm okay. I'm okay.
Okay, I will change it to Saturday. I'll send to you guys. Okay, so Miranda, you okay?
Saturday? When? Next week?
Yes.
19th of June.
Yes.
Saturday.